Hey there, HorseCenter fans. Matt and I are back with another exciting edition of the show. Matt, we have big races coast to coast.
Grade 1 racing is back, and both coasts, Santa Anita and Belmont Park.
We got a Kentucky Derby prep, and we have the horse that almost was three-year-old champion last year coming back. Watch it all right now here on HorseCenter. Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the super pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Schiffman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm okay, Brian. I survived this tumultuous week in the world, but let's talk horse racing. We got graded stakes races on both coasts.
That's right, Matt. Crazy times here in the United States, but HorseCenter is an oasis. It's a haven. It's a haven for horse racing fans. Matt and I love putting on the show, so let's get right to it, Matt, because like you said, there are big races. Santa Anita, big races at Belmont Park. We're going to jump back and forth from coast to coast on this show. So let's get rolling here, Matt. Let's start with the Kentucky Derby prep. It's a big race. It's 400,000. It's grade 1. It's the biggest three-year-old race in the state of California, Matt. I'm talking about the Santa Anita Derby. This year, we look at a top two, a strong top two that also ran 1-2 in the San Felipe a few months ago. Undefeated Authentic and the highly regarded Honor AP, Matt. Let's start with Authentic because he really hasn't been tested so far in 3 starts.
Yeah, I think you can certainly say that. 3 for 3, right, Brian? And seemingly on paper, pretty easy victories. He won the Sham. And then he came back and won the San Felipe in March, which is when he was last seen on the track. And same thing for Honor AP. They met in that race, and Authentic had the edge on that day. But we're 3 months or so since then, and it seems to me that John Sheriffs is preparing his horse a little bit differently this time. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, well, first off, Authentic has been excellent in his 3 starts. Of course, he's trained by Bob Baffert, the son of Into Mischief. Shows a lot of speed. He won at 5.5 furlongs, a fast 5.5 furlong debut. Then he came back and just rolled in the Sham, probably over a little bit weaker field. But then last time in the San Felipe, we say last time, but it's going on 3 months now. But last time he controlled the race from the outset with that good early speed. Honor AP never really could put a big threat into him. This could be different, though. There is more speed, it looks like. Shooter Shoot, I think, is a horse who's getting better and has quite a bit of speed. We're also talking about a little bit farther distance, 9 furlongs instead of the last one was a mile 16th. Honor AP also probably wasn't at his sharp and very best for the San Felipe, Matt. If you remember, he had a couple of impressive races as a 2-year-old, but then he missed some time early in the year. So he had a layoff. He was coming off some missed time when he faced Authentic. And like I said, Authentic really did have that race all to himself. I expect off paper Authentic to be heavily favored again, maybe even more so than last time. But Honor AP has an awful lot to like.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I expect Authentic to try and run the same kind of race. I agree. Shooter Shoot has shown some speed in his races so far, but is he good enough to contest Authentic out front? We shall see. But as I mentioned before, I think John Sheriffs has gotten serious with the training of Honor AP heading into the Santa Anita Derby, which you described as the biggest 3-year-old race out in California, a race that Sheriffs certainly would like to win, beating Baffert in, a race that they need to win on this June trail to the Kentucky Derby. Sheriffs has put in a mixture of 7 furlong breezes into his horse to give endurance. And then recently, the last 2 breezes have been at 5 furlongs, and they've been fast. So it looks like Sheriff's has got speed into his horse and endurance into his horse. And I expect this time we should see an Honor AP at 100%.
Yeah, and Honor AP, this is a big race, and sure, Sheriffs wants to win it, and there are points considerations here. But again, I don't even think this is a must-win for Honor AP, nor do I think this is the ultimate goal of Honor AP. I think he's really a classic-looking horse, a long, striding son of Honor Code who just should get better, both with maturity and with distance. And being in the John Sheriff's barn only makes that belief a little bit stronger. But having said that, like I said, I do think this is a good spot, a better spot at least than the San Felipe. He's more even. He's more caught up to Authentic as far as where they are in their career. And I'm of the belief that Shooter Shoot has gotten pretty darn good. He probably gave Charlton more of a race than anybody did in the division of the Arkansas Derby. And then he came back with two nice wins, both wire jobs. Last time I thought that Arkansas Derby, the Oaklawn Park allowance race, was really a terrific performance. I think Shooter Shoot can go out there with Authentic, and I don't think Shooter Shoot is going to be the type of speed horse to back out quickly. So that makes life just a little bit tougher with Authentic, and with Honor AP moving forward, you can tell folks who I'm on. I'm not on the favorite in here. I'm on the second choice, Honor AP. I think he's a real threat as we move ahead to the Kentucky Derby. Unfortunately, we don't expect to see either one of these two, Matt, in the Belmont Stakes, which is 2 weeks after. But two very good horses and two serious Kentucky Derby horses. Who else is in this race? We talked about Shooter Shoot a little bit. Bafford's got another horse who's got some ability to come from well back. Yep,
Bafford's got Azul Coast in here. The last time we saw this Baffert runner was back in February when he won the El Camino Real up at Golden Gate Fields on the synthetic surface. And before that, he ran second to Authentic in the Sham. He's a late runner in here, and I give this Baffert horse a chance to get a piece of things coming late, particularly if that speed duel that you described actually ends up happening. And I'm going to agree with you, Brian. I think this is an opportunity to pick against Authentic, who I think is going to be an obvious favorite in here. And I am also going to go with Honor AP. I don't know how big the odds are going to be. I think he's going to get bet too. Maybe we're talking about less than 2-1 on Authentic and maybe around 2-1 on Honor AP, but that's okay. I'm going to go with Sheriffs and Honor AP in the Santa Anita Derby.
Yeah, personally, I think Authentic is under even money in here, which leaves Honor AP at least 2-1. So, yeah, he's a heavy second choice, but I think Authentic is the heavy favorite. Azul Coast, I'm really not sure what he beat in those two other races, one at Love South, one at Golden Gate Fields. I know Dior, those 2-year-old races that he ran well last year just haven't come back as good. None of the horses from the Breeders' Cup Juvenile or the Los Al Futurity have done a lot this year. So his recent poor form away from California certainly can be held against him. Back to California, maybe he returns to better form, but hard to love him. I will mention both of the Mike McCarthy horses interest me a little bit. Rushy has been getting better. The Gray had a nice win last time, his second win in his last 3 starts after running a well-beaten second to Charlton in the middle there. And then Friars Road is a pure bomb as a maiden running in a Grade 1 race. But I see real progression. I see great pedigree. And the last one is better than it looks probably on paper. So if you're looking for a horse to amble up into the exotics, don't throw out the maiden necessarily. Friars Road from the Mike McCarthy barn. That's our Santa Anita Derby look, folks. Matt and I are both on Honor AP as the second choice to turn the tables on Authentic and move ever closer to the September 5 Kentucky Derby. Matt, last year in the Kentucky, do you remember what happened last year in the Kentucky Derby? I know you do.
Yeah, I think I remember that 20-minute inquiry at the end of the Kentucky Derby.
Wacky, wild stuff that only got wackier since then. Of course, Country House was put up. He was the winner of the Kentucky Derby, finished second. The winner, health reasons, he never came back. But the horse who was put up for second, also, of course, he won the Fountain of Youth. He won the Dwyer. He won the Travers. He was put up again in the Jockey Club, this time for the win in that battle with Vino Rosso. Of course, I'm talking about Code of Honor, another Son of Honor Code, Matt, and a really good horse trained by Shug McGahee. He comes back after a long layoff. Saturday's Westchester.
Yeah, a really good card at Belmont Park. Lots of graded stakes races in there. The Westchester goes as the 7th race, a grade 3, going a mile and a 16th at Belmont, which of course we know is in the one-turn format. And Code of Honor making his debut for Shug McGahee after the wonderful 3-year-old campaign that he had in the second half of the year. Shug is saying that this horse has never looked better, which to me makes it sound like he's going to have Code of Honor ready to roll out off the layoff, which isn't always the case with Shug. Interesting field in there. A couple others that we can mention, Joevia from the Greg Sacco barn, who showed some good things last year. They discovered needed some throat surgery after 2 not good as expected races this year, and he's back. And also Mijos, who we also saw on the Kentucky Derby briefly last year, is also back for Jimmy Jerkins. Got blinkers on, and it seems to have improved him.
Yeah, well, I want to talk a little bit about Code of Honor, Matt, because, Shug's been talking that Code of Honor, it's kind of a delayed seasonal debut for the 4-year-old. But, really a terrific 3-year-old, folks. If you remember, when the Eclipse Award voting happened, he was second. We knew he was not going to get it over Maximum Security. Shug McGahee, one of the best horsemen in the country, wasn't thrilled with everything that's happened with Maximum Security. And of course, Jason Service, he wonders if, on a fair and square racetrack, if Code of Honor didn't deserve to be the 3-year-old champion. So there's some merit to that, as all the inconsistencies, for lack of a worse word, from the Jason Service barn came in. We don't know. We haven't seen Maximum Security since he left Service barn, but Code of Honor is back. I expect him to be a very good 4-year-old. And yeah, Matt's right. Shug's saying that Code of Honor is ready for this mile and a 16th debut on Saturday. It's a nice field, though. Like Matt started to allude to, Joevia needs to turn around, but maybe he will with that work done. Mijos, I don't trust as a horse quite good enough against this group of horses. But I think there's some others in here. Chad Brown has a couple. Monongahela has run several good races. Maybe a cut below. He looks like a nice grade 3 horse, though. Endorsed might be the second choice. He was 4th in the Travers last year for trainer Belmont, and it's coming off a nice win at Oaklawn Park. Senior investment, Matt. Back in the day, he won the Lexington and was 3rd in the Preakness. His career went downhill, but lately for trainer Scott Lake, senior investment looks like his old self, and he's on a bit of a roll. But I think the biggest threat to Code of Honor for my money might be Payne. Payne has really come around of late for Chad Brown. I know he was second in an allowance race at Saratoga last summer, but that was a good race. And since he's won 3 in a row, and they're looking better and better. So Code of Honor is not at his very best. I think this is a tough little field. And for my money, Payne might be the one that's the biggest threat to Code of Honor.
And it is worth noting on opening day, the Chad Brown horses came out running. And there's nobody better with bringing horses off of long layoffs than Chad Brown. Clearly, Code of Honor is going to be a significant favorite in here, and deservedly so. Yeah,
deservedly so. Could be one of those horses gunning for the best in America this year, folks. So we're excited to see Code of Honor's return in a pretty good race in the Westchester on Saturday. However, on that same card, there's several graded stakes. But I think the best race, top to bottom, the best race of the weekend is the Grade 1 Carter, 7 furlongs, $250,000, Matt. And this just got a loaded field of horses who love to go one turn. There's a couple of horses in here who could go farther and be really good handicap horses. then you got some real pros sprinting, Matt. Shall we start with Mind Control, who ran a very interesting race in the Tom Fool?
I think we have to start with Mind Control in this race. It drew a field of 11, as you mentioned, Brian. It's the first win in your in race for the Breeders' Cup Sprint of the year. A fabulous field. Mind Control comes into the race with 3 victories in a row, and Mind Control has shown in his career that he is one tough son of a gun when he gets close to the wire. He knows how to win. He knows how to get his head down at the wire, and he's overcome adversity a number of times in his career, whether it's stumbling at a start or whether he's had a bad trip, and overcome both of those situations when it looked like he had no chance to get up and win. He's the gutsy, talented kind of horse that I love, and is the likely favorite in here.
Yeah, he might be the favorite. I'm not so sure if he's the favorite, but he probably deserves to be the favorite. He's won 7-12 lifetime, Grade 1 winner of the Hopeful at 2, Grade 1 winner of the Jerkins last summer as the first of his current 3-race winning streak. And the Tom Fool last time that I alluded to, that was at Aqueduct, but it was a terrific race where he was down to a horse by about 5 lengths at the 8th pole, maybe just outside the 8th pole, and he just reeled him in and won going away. Very impressive. Matt is right. This is a horse that likes to win. He's a runner. But as far as the favorite, I'm not sure if the Greg Sacco trained horse will be preferred over Vekoma. Maybe he is, but Vekoma's a nice horse. Was a stakes winner, graded stakes winner too. Won the Bluegrass impressively last year. Derby was the last race of his 3-year-old year where he didn't run, but he came back with a very nice performance in the Sir Shackleton, Matt.
Yes, and let's remember that Vekoma broke his maiden in his debut at Belmont Park, so we know he likes the surface. That Sir Shackleton that you mentioned at Gulfstream Park, his most recent start was at 7 furlongs. And quite frankly, Brian, I think the 7 furlongs is an ideal distance, maybe up to a mile. The one turn is ideal for Vekoma. Don't know how many good races he can put together with his unique running style, but off of the one race, he should be ready to roll in here.
Yeah. 7 furlongs is definitely up Vekoma's alley, but on the other hand, he won the Bluegrass going away at 9 furlongs. So I could see Vekoma moving to a lot of the big races of the summer races, like the Whitney at 9 furlongs. But Vekoma is certainly at home here at 7 furlongs. One more thing I want to say, Mind Control, because you brought up the Belmont Park Racing Series with Vekoma. You might look at that Woody Stevens and say, well, 7 furlongs at Belmont, Mind Control didn't run a good race there, but that really is a draw line through a race, Matt, as Mind Control was just had all kinds of trouble in that Woody Stevens last year. Another horse that I know likes Belmont Park, I just don't know exactly what to expect, is Firenze Fire, Matt. And if you like Mind Control and his 7-12 lifetime record, you got to like Firenze Fire, who's won stakes races after stakes races. He's been around. He tried the Kentucky Derby even, but he's proven to be a really good horse at one turn. I think 7 furlongs is right up his alley, and I absolutely know he likes Belmont Park. The only thing I don't know is, are we going to see the best Firenze Fire? This is his first race off service. That probably will be a handicapping point of 2020, unfortunately. First race off service, first race off Navarro. We don't know. We don't know if Firenze Fire, what he was running on or what he was running without, but he's in the Kelly Breen barn now, and I don't think he gets as good as his record is, as good as his recent form is, and as good as his career has been. I don't know if he gets as bad as Mind Control and Vekoma. And one of the reasons is what's he going to do away from service? But really a nice horse, and I love him 7 furlongs at Belmont. So he's actually going to be my top pick as the 3rd choice, 4th choice. I don't know. I like Firenze Fire. Let's see if we can see the same kind of horse return with Kelly Breen.
Yeah, he has certainly turned into a kind of a warrior, a great record. He comes into the Carter with 3 wins in a row, just like Mind Control does. He won Grade 3 down at Laurel. He won a stakes race at Aqueduct, and before that, he won another stake at Penn National. He brings his best effort to any kind of racetrack around. But you're right, Brian. There are those big question marks out there in his first start off of service into a new barn. Actually, there's a few of those first time off of service horses running at Belmont Park this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see with them. I agree, Brian. He is not going to be the first choice or the second choice. I don't know. He's going to be the third choice, maybe even the fourth choice in the race.
Yeah, and I'll disagree with one point, Matt. He brings his race to other racetracks, and he's proven at top quality, great, multiple Grade 1 winner. But I think he really is best at Belmont Park. This horse moves forward at Belmont Park. And Matt, last time we saw him at Belmont Park was that great battle with Imperial Hint. So I think Forensic Fire is a horse who just moved forward even at Belmont Park, and that's saying something when you're talking about those stakes wins at other tracks. Another horse we need to talk about, maybe the third choice, maybe the fourth choice, is Performer, another Shug McGahee horse who looked like a very developing good thing late last year. He's 4 for 5 lifetime. Looks like a horse who will appreciate 2 turns for sure, but on the other hand, he ran some pretty good sprint races last year as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I know we talked about Performer on this show, particularly back after his last victory at Aqueduct in the Discovery Handicap. He comes into the race, another one coming into the race on a winning streak. Won his last 4 starts in a row for Shug. I mean, this is a tough spot to come back in against 3 very talented sprinters that we've mentioned. So for me, there's a little bit of a question mark if this is the main goal for Performer, and even if it is, running against the likes of Forensic Fire and Mind Control and Vekoma might be a tough first ask. But no doubt he's going to get some support at the window as being a Belmont Park local and Shug McGahee and the winning streak.
Yeah, this is a nice horse. This is a horse who was getting good at the end of last year. He beat a nice horse in that Discovery. And like I said, he did well sprinting before, so I think he can handle it. Again, kind of like Code of Honor, he's probably pretty geared up for this first race of the year, which is a little bit later than usual. And maybe he's looking ahead to the Met Mile and races like the Whitney as well. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he puts in a real good performance here. Maybe I like the top 3 a little bit better, but Performer is certainly a horse to watch. Network Effect is a horse who looks to be getting pretty good again for Chad Brown. Still having fun, has won a big race at Belmont Park at this distance. Nitrous is a horse who's always rallying in sprint races. So just a terrific addition to the Carter, man.
Yeah, and another interesting thing about the Carter handicapping wise is that it's a sprint, but there really is not much speed of any significance in the field. We got all those closers in there, so I guess we can kind of expect a closely bunched field in the last 1/8 of a mile. But Brian, I got to disagree with you on this one. There's no horse I want going into battle, and this one's going to be a battle. Than Mind Control.
Yeah, Mind Control, I consider Mind Control the horse to beat. But on the other hand, I think Forensic Fire sometimes gets lost a little bit. They actually remind me a little bit of each other, Forensic Fire and Mind Control. 2 terrific sprinters who really like to win. Forensic Fire may not have beaten the best in races like the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile or a few sprints here and there, but he's a terrific sprinter. Loves Belmont. Mind Control is awesome. Who knows how good Vekoma is? Performer could be getting up to that level. Wonderful addition to the Carter. Matt likes Mind Control. I'm going to go Forensic Fire for a mild upset in here. Matt, let's head back to California. We got some big races still to talk about besides the Santa Anita Derby out there. Let's start with the Hollywood Gold Cup, Matt. And, this field doesn't strike me as a terrific 6-horse field for the Hollywood Gold Cup. We've seen better Hollywood Gold Cups, let's be honest. But on the other hand, the Hollywood Gold Cup is a race we need to pay attention to because the last two winners of the Breeders' Cup Classic also won the Hollywood Gold Cup that year. I'm talking about Vino Rosso last year and Accelerate the year before. So I'll ask you, Matt, could we see a third year where the Hollywood Gold Cup winner wins the Breeders' Cup Classic?
I guess anything's possible, Brian.
I was just going to say no, but okay, I like your answer. I think we start with Midcourt, who's won 5 of his last 7 races for trainer John Shirreffs.
Midcourt, the son of Midnight Loot. Last seen was third in the Santa Anita Handicap, and then before that he won the San Pascal, stretching back out to the 1.25 miles, which I think is a reasonable distance for Midcourt. Kind of likes to press the pace. Interestingly, when I opened up the past performances for this race, I noticed that he's taken the blinkers off the horse in there, which I found found to be an interesting move. But Midcourt, I think, has got a big chance in this field of 6 for the Hollywood Gold Cup.
Yeah, I'm guessing Midcourt is the favorite in here. It's not completely clear to me, but my guess would be Midcourt is the favorite. He's had a nice string of races. I do worry a little bit that when the race doesn't set up perfectly for him, and he runs against good horses, he doesn't quite get the win. That happened last time in the Big Cap, the Santa Anita Handicap. He was a heavy favorite in there, and of course was beaten. He was beaten less than a length, but he was third as the heavy favorite in the Santa Anita Handicap. This race actually looks stronger than the Santa Anita Handicap because if you remember, the Big Cap this year came up very weak after a important scratch. So I want to try to beat him. I'm guessing he's the favorite. I want to try to beat him because I don't know that he has things kind of easy on the lead like he did in the San Pasquale. There's speed in here. There's the horse from South America, the brown horse from South America has got a lot of speed, but then there's also Improbable. And I guess deep down I'm rooting for Improbable because this is a horse who I've kind of watched since he was first coming out, and we always thought he was a classy horse. 1.25 miles is a big question, but I thought his first race as a 4-year-old was very good when he came from a far outside post to lead most of the way down the stretch until Tom's D'Etat, who I think is better than anything in here, ran by him. That was at 1 mile. So now he's got to stretch out to 1.25 miles. But I think if he ever wins a big race at 1.25 miles, this looks like the race where Improbable can do it.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I agree with the way you said that, Brian, that if there's ever a chance that he's going to win a big race like this at 10 furlongs, this is the field in which he can do it. And I'll be honest with you, I really had trouble picking a horse in this field because I don't really like anybody very much. There's question marks about so many of them. Improbable, for a while I had as my top pick, but then I keep coming back to the fact that he hasn't won a race since last August, and stuff just seems to happen with Improbable. So I'm not sure what to think about him in here, but I agree. If he's ever going to get that big win, this is the time.
Here's how I see the race. Midcourt is probably the favorite and could win, but I want to try to beat him. Improbable is the horse I think could turn out to be a Grade 1 horse again, a true Grade 1 horse, not one of these small field Grade 1 California races, but a real Grade 1 horse. Maybe not the best horse in the country, but a real Grade 1 horse who could run good races in races like the Whitney and the Woodward. But if I'm looking at this just from a handicapping standpoint, with some speed, Midcourt and Improbable both want to be right there with the South American horse. It looks like this race sets up a little bit better for Higher Power, who can kind of stalk and can sit just a little bit off the lead. Higher Power has not been a good racehorse away from Southern California. He got good for trainer Johns when he moved to Sadler's Barn in Southern California last year, and he ran some very good races. Pacific Classic was terrific. And the Breeders' Cup Classic, he was third. This is a horse who can get 10 furlongs. This is a horse who can pass horses in the stretch. Problem with him is his only race this year was really bad, and it came back in January. It was a track that he might not have liked down at Gulfstream Park, and a better field than this, I guess. But I think back in California, 10 furlongs with some time between the race, Higher Power maybe as the third choice would be the horse that I would bet in here.
Yeah, that makes sense, Brian. And I guess in defense of the layoff with Higher Power, yes, he was a no-show in the Pegasus World Cup, and I'm sure John Sadler at that point decided to give him some time off. That was January, and then what happened? Racing came to an end abruptly in March. So even if Sadler was looking at bringing him back in April, say, that was gone, and he was stuck with a much longer layoff than he wanted, thinking in defense of Higher Power and why he's got that layoff. And I agree. He may be the best 1.25 mile horse in this race, but again, like I said with Improbable, and like you said with Midcourt, I just don't know, and just am not real confident about what's going to happen.
As you really can't be with any of the long shots, the 3 long shots in the race. So, yeah, I guess what we're saying is the Hollywood Gold Cup. And folks, we're calling it the Hollywood Gold Cup again, even though it's at Santa Anita, and it was called the Gold Cup at Santa Anita in recent years. They've renamed it to the old name, the Hollywood Gold Cup. The Hollywood Gold Cup of this year is just not a great race. I'll go with Higher Power. My rooting interest probably finds with Improbable. I probably won't put a lot of money on this one, nor do I really see myself putting a lot of money, gambling money that is, on the Santa Anita Oaks. I've become a fan of Swiss Skydiver, Matt. I really was convinced. I kind of liked her early on, and then I was afraid to get on her in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. She got out on the lead and wired it, and I said, well, okay, she got out there, and the other horses kind of let her be, but it was a big performance. But then what she did in the fantasy convinced me that she is one of the best 3-year-old fillies in the country.
Yes, no doubt, Brian, and I agree with that. And Kenny McPeak was, after that impressive victory in the fantasy, was pondering a trip over to Europe with the horse. But with everything that's going on in the world with the COVID-19 virus and difficulties shipping a horse over, he decided that he would instead ship the other way and go all the way across our country to Santa Anita, to the Santa Anita Oaks. The race in the entry box just did not fill up the way we might have expected. There was talk that a couple of other promising horses were going to be in the race, but no Venetian Harbor, as it turned out, no Garmin from Bob Baffert. The field turned out really light, so Swiss Skydiver is going to be a heavy favorite and a deserving favorite. But the question always is, how many good races can a horse like this put together, especially when you're shipping across the country?
Yeah, not a good betting race. Swiss Skydiver, yeah, she doesn't get the trip to the 1,000 guineas at Newmarket. They reduced the price this year because of what's going over. Matt talked about the travel restrictions, so she's not going there. So now she's on dirt again. That's where she's always been, on dirt, but they thought she could be a really top-notch turf filly as well. So plan B was Santa Anita Oaks. Grade 2 race, big prep for the Kentucky Oaks. She's already the runaway leader in the Kentucky Oaks points, so that's not really concerned. But it looks like a relatively benign spot for her to earn her third straight nice graded stakes win. If she runs back to the Gulfstream Park Oaks, if she runs back to the Fantasy, she certainly wins this. There are 2 horses in here who look to be nice horses that we should mention beneath her. The first is Speech, who was second in a graded stakes race to California before she went to Oaklawn Park and gave Gamine everything she wanted in a little allowance race there. So that was a terrific performance by Speech. If she runs back to that race at Oaklawn Park, she's a threat. By the way, we mentioned Venetian Harbor and Gamine as not horses that are in here. I think they're both pointed to the Acorn now, which is 1 turn mile at Belmont Park on Belmont Stakes Day, I believe, Matt. But Speech, if she runs back to that race, is a threat. And then the other one is the Baffert horse, Merneath. This is a $600,000 purchase, a daughter of American Pharoah, who burned a ton of money. She didn't run terribly, but she burned a ton of money while running second in her first 2 starts. Last one, she went to Oaklawn Park, got a sloppy track, and she won by a pole. There's some talent there with Merneath.
Yeah, that's for sure. For Bob Baffert, yeah, it's going to be a tough race to bet. Speech looks like a second choice in there. Again, I don't know what kind of odds we'll get in there, but if I'm looking for a second choice, and I guess a horse who could win the race, if that's easy for me to say, if Swiss Skydiver does not show up, I'm going to go with Speech.
Yeah, and probably Speech is a second choice over Merneath. Merneath coming out of a maiden race, but Merneath is very well liked, and 2 horses with potential. Swiss Skydiver, on the other hand, has more than potential. We know she's very, very good. Matt mentioned it, though. Gulfstream Park to Oaklawn Park, now to Santa Anita. That's a lot of traveling for a young filly. Will she bring her best? If she does, she wins the Santa Anita Oaks. Matt and I like Honor AP in the big one, the Santa Anita Derby. Great Carter, Code of Honor returns. Matt, we had a pretty full show of analysis here. Hopefully we gave our viewers a lot to look out for on Saturday, but it should be a great day of racing.
Absolutely should be, Brian. Great day of racing, Grade 1 races all over the place. It was a terrific opening day at Belmont Park yesterday. Credit to the horsemen. With all those horses coming off layoffs, they were running to form, Brian. No big upsets. So that's a credit to the trainers for having their horses ready to go out of the barn when things opened up. Big fields continuing at Belmont Park. Let's enjoy the racing. And folks, let's remember that in these tough times, we still got the COVID going on. And let's remember, we are all in this together, and let's show respect for all people in this country.
United we stand, brother. That's right. Matt, Belmont Park has been wonderful to watch just one day in, but good racing yesterday. Today we're filming on Thursday, tomorrow, Friday, and then, of course, the Carter, the Westchester, some great turf stakes at Belmont Park. So it's great to have Belmont Park. A shout out to Rushing Fall, who is just a machine on the grass. She was the winner of opening day's feature, the Bogey. Nice to see her back in her 2020 debut. Matt, I want to thank our producer, Brett Workman, for putting together the show every week. I want to thank all you fans for watching. We appreciate it. Hey, if you haven't yet subscribed to that YouTube channel here on Horse Racing Nation, please do so. Who else should I thank? Probably Derby Wars, Matt, the best contest site out there. They're our sponsor here on HorseCenter. And next week, we will be talking a lot more great racing as we approach, I guess it's the first leg of the Triple Crown, Matt. We're getting closer to the Belmont Stakes.
Yeah, really, Brian. We're 2 weeks away, right?
Yeah, it's just over 2 weeks to the first leg of the Triple Crown, even if it's not the Kentucky Derby. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you right here on HorseCenter next week.